Oh my God, aren't you lucky? It's time for another Equity Guru Investor Roundtable. I'm Rob down here in the basement, along with what do you got over there, Galen? What do you got
Well,
over
I've been
there?
drinking all morning.
Little drinky poo?
Yeah.
Michelle upstairs in the penthouse as always because he's rich, and Chris Perry way up over there joining us, and he's very happy to be here, as he should be, because we're going to talk about
All right.
i3 Interactive, which is we always just refer to it as BETS, BETS, because that is their symbol on the exchange. And Troy Grant is their CEO. They're all over the place. Like he's in Halifax. They've got a little Vancouver. They got a little Costa Rica. They got a little stuff going on over in India.
And international influence.
Yes, Galen, what do you got?
Well, i3 Interactive is one of those companies that's providing a platform for the future of online and mobile gaming. They're centering their efforts in India at the moment, focusing particularly on the sport of cricket. In India, you're allowed to game on skill-based games. So they're going in there hoping at some point, and they figure in the next 24 to 36 months, there might actually be some legislation allowing the legalization of sports betting as well. So what they're doing right now is they're offering a few brands on their platform, those being Blitz Poker, Blitz Pools, as well as Line Movement. Now, Line Movement is a bit of a social media play, and what they're planning to do is place social media influencers, for instance, cricket stars. Cricket is a huge sport, globally speaking. You may not have heard about it here or even follow it here. It's way popular across the globe. It's I think like second place or something ridiculous to football, and that's the round ball, just in case you know. Now they're figuring that with the Indian market, it's a relatively nascent market, so they can get a nice foothold within a large population. They have about 4.5 million registered users across their ecosystem. They're planning to really step up their brand push this year. It's a big moment for them, expecting to grow organically and inorganically with acquisitions to build their brand. And also they're having focus towards the North American market, meaning the United States, to get into there. And currently right now they're providing consulting services for land-based casinos, so they too can get sort of part of this whole online betting and gambling industry that's really becoming a burgeoning type of sector. Huge amounts of money to be made, of course, because betting's probably the third oldest profession in the world. So like everybody does it. And what i3 Interactive offers is an ability to sort of do like individual based betting, like you're betting against yourself, your friends, and sort of playing the game. Now, they are establishing partnerships to do what they're doing. They're growing their social media presence to do what they're doing. And it'll be really interesting to see, because really this next 12 months is going to be the telltale on how this company is doing. You know what? I'll fucking bring it up. The company is dealing with, at this point, a bit of a legal issue, but most companies do go through that litigation with some people that haven't necessarily performed as well as they should have or have violated their contracts. And yes, that is occurring, but they're dealing with it, and it seems to me at this point in time that it is clearly in their court and they will proceed forward. So I can't not mention it. There you go. Yeah. It seems Chris has lost his video feed at this point in time, so you're seeing sort of a half picture of Rob. Hey, Rob, how's it going? I can see the left side of your head. There's Chris. Awesome.
Hiding behind Clooney.
Perfect. Now I'll bring you back. That's okay. We're back.
By the way, if that's the third
opening the floor.
If wagering's the third oldest job in the world, what is the first? Prostitution and firefighting, or is it longshoreman?
It's actually digging ditches.
Oh, all right. Oh, I did that. I actually dug ditches in Australia for 2 days.
Oh,
just fantastic. Speaking of Australia,
we make the foreigners do that just for laughs. If you go back the next day, someone will be filling in your hole and have like a Scottish flag on their back.
I was already a laborer, so it was just, it was an extra 2 days. Chris, what are you thinking on I3 Interactive Bets?
So I like i3. I love the idea of sports betting in India because there are only two sports in the world that really lend themselves, well, three, I guess, to lend themselves to play-by-play betting. Baseball is one because you've got time between plays. American football is another. But cricket is fantastic for that. Like, honestly, the only reason you go watch cricket live is to drink in the sun. Your average fast bowler spends about a minute and a half walking back to where he's going to start his run up, tests the wind, scratches his nuts, and then comes in for the next. So, which gives you a beautiful amount of time to go out to your betting crowd and say, so what do you think the next ball's going to be? Right. The play-by-play sports betting thing is really where the sports betting crowd knows they'll make their money because it becomes more and more addictive. It's like a slot machine. If you're betting on the result of the game, they've got your cut once. If you're betting on every play of the game, they've got your cut every play of the game. So you want people making as many bets as possible. Winning or losing, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like the brokerage racket, right? My broker does not want me to make one purchase and then do nothing for the next 2 years because they make their percentage on the trade. They want me making money, putting it somewhere else, selling it, putting it somewhere else, selling it, putting it somewhere else. Sports betting's the same deal. Now, the big anchor around the neck of bets is how they came to the party. Mistakes were made could be the slogan. They came in hot and heavy behind Dan Bilzerian, who you'd probably call an influencer more than anything else, in the worst sense of that job title. This dude is the guy who infamously raised $50 million and then blew it in a quarter on marketing for a cannabis company called Ignite. He had that company buying all sorts of things for himself that you wouldn't normally expect to be a CEO doing that sort of business. And unfortunately for this deal, he got dragged into this as being the sort of guy who's going to make a big impact on social media, get a lot of people signing up for monthly use, and probably did to an extent, that gave them some attention. But when you look at the Wikipedia page for this guy, it's like an episode of The Real Housewives of Nut Scratch, Alabama. It's gunfire and Russian mob, and it's nutty. He's one of these guys that if you give him $1 million, he will somehow spend 1.1 million. And so this deal attached themselves to this guy. The Blitz is kind of a play on Bills. It's unfortunately there's a lot of internal wiring we're hooked up to this dude, who then proceeded to do absolutely nothing other than sue the company for not giving him more money. So the company's been dealing with that. They had an extended halt. They've had unfortunately, the stigma of being sucked into a lawsuit and of, quite frankly, coming out wrong. There's a lot of opportunities in sports betting and online gambling, and these guys missed that because they were too stuck in the Bilzerian mud trap. Now, if you still like the idea of the company, which I do, and you see the acquisitions they're making, which I have, and the monthly average users that they have, which is growing, it's a good deal. And it's a good deal with a price tag that you'd find attached to a bad deal. So, hey, if you were in there early because you thought Dan Bilzerian was going to shoot the moon for you, oops. But if you're not in there yet, you get the advantage of coming in there with an education, with the company having got an education, and at a much lower price point. I think this is an interesting deal as it stands. If you shake off all the bullshit of the past and just look at what they have, that's a tasty meatball.
I'll tell you what, if they ever get, and I know they're talking about it, with that population they have over there, if they get away from the non-skill wagering, which is just, it becomes a free-for-all, oh my God. And if they're in the middle of that market. Also, the word gaming is interesting to me because are we talking wagering, which we are in this case? Other times we're talking about kids playing video games and people watching them. It all falls under gaming. We need to find those terms, clarify that terminology.
I think gaming's been sort of misrepresented to a certain extent because it's esports that really talks about people playing the games and witnessing them. Gaming in and of itself is like the non-sports betting wagering. Yeah.
Okay. So it is
Well,
kind of
so
clear, mostly clear, I guess.
no, unclear. And here's the problem: is that the Canadian markets don't necessarily love gambling as a sector, right? There's a whole lot of governance issues there. So generally, companies that are in that space will go to great lengths to say, no, we're a gaming company. We're supplying the software that allows an off-site casino to do X, right? Or we're engaging in activities in a country where it's legal, and we have the paperwork that might not be in Canada. Like, there's a lot of having to sort of talk out the side of your mouth. Realistically, the online gaming / gambling space is evolving really quickly in all parts of the world. You only have to look at the Premier League and see how many teams are being sponsored by gambling outfits. And that's a mature market. If that's the most money is being spent in gambling in terms of marketing over there, then that's going to happen here very soon as well. And quite frankly, I can't watch a sports event on TV, online, or anything at the moment without getting pounded with ads from slot machine software deals and sports books. And, you know, like, we've had lots of clients over the last 6 months that have been in this space, and we have lots of investments in the space. It is changing week after week. We only have to think back a couple of years ago to when FanDuel and DraftKings were outspending each other week after week, like Coke and Pepsi, sponsoring every single sports event known to man, trying to get in on that daily fantasy sports market. Now that market is a bit flooded, so what's next? And it's going to be play-by-play sports, betting. It's going to be like every state in the US is evolving its gambling online rules, and it's going to just be an absolute gold rush over the next few years.
Yeah. We'll go to Vishal on the charts on BETS, i3 Interactive. And I can say, you talked about Premier League, NHL hockey, same thing. Ads pop up. You watch a New York Rangers game, girl comes on, asks you to place a bet during the second period. And about a third of the networks are now run by Bally's, the teams that actually that broadcast the hockey game.
I swear, I've seen even like Matt Sundin in some of these commercials for sports betting.
Yeah.
I saw the Trailer Park Boys the other day.
Oh, no way.
The Trailer Park Boys are pumping up a gambling site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't know if I trust that.
Right?
I know. The companies keep tying the Trailer Park Boys into promoting themselves.
And they might be new one, too.
They did it with a crappy weed company a couple of years ago, and no product ever emerged. They just took the money and said, thank you very much. Like, I don't know when Canadian companies will figure it out, but the Trailer Park Boys as corporate responsibility is
not a good
really,
image.
unless you're trying to sell like cheap beer, in which case go nuts.
There we go.
Vishal, what are they doing?
So, we got to address the big elephant in the room, which Galen and Chris talked about with the legal issues there. BETS, or i3 Interactive, it was halted back in April 19th, the 9th of 2021. And the stock actually resumed trading about 8 months later on December 17th, 2021. So since then, since that resumption there, we did hit new record lows, obviously. Pretty much normal, whenever there's a halt, there's always a gap in the stock. In this case, obviously, the gap was to the downside. And I think that's what a lot of these investors are going to be looking at, this gap here between 20 cents to about 33 cents here. And generally, gaps act as, in this case, it would be a resistance zone. But I think if BETS can get a close above this 20 cents zone here, we can maybe start to work on filling this gap, closing back above 33 cents, and then things will look a bit more rosy from there. Since December 17th, though, we've actually had some big volumes, some big buys. We have actually seen days where millions of shares were traded, not just on red days, but on green days as well. On the 29th of December, 1.7 million shares were traded. And then on the 7th of January of 2022, 1.3 million shares were traded. And then last week, we did have about 657,000. So, people have been accumulating and I guess selling off during this range here, but the stock's just been ranging now, and we just wait for that break and close above 20 cents to get this going in terms of a technical pattern. I bring this up just because I really like this type of structure where I see a downtrend. I see a range where basically the stock will just, essentially it's an indication that a new trend is about to start, or all the selling off has basically wavered away. And then we tend to see an uptrend. And if I just zoom out or move the chart backwards here, you see the same structure, right? So we've had a downtrend here in bets. We had our range, and then eventually when we got that breakout of the range, the stock did move up higher with one swing in an uptrend, and then obviously with the Bilzerian news, it went downwards, and then we got the halt. So we're hoping for a repeat of what we saw here structurally. Honestly, things are looking pretty decent here. If you are, like I said, as Chris mentioned, you are getting in at a good price here. But as that trigger, you'd want to see that break above 20 cents here, because the stock could continue to range for some time. But it's going to be a big year, and I think all it takes is that one nice catalyst to get that breakout and get the stock going once again. So 20 cents key zone, and then 33 cents where that gap is for the stock to fill the gap, and then things look really good from there, because usually gap fills are very, very bullish.
Very good. That means we ask Galen first how much do-si-do he's spending of the $7,500 that I've made available to you.
Aha, yes. Well, oddly enough, even though this is actually a pretty good proposition, the value is actually there, and it is an amazingly prospective or highly prospective industry, I've got some qualms just about doing the whole betting thing. That's just me. So I'm not going to put any money down just because I would find another sector to invest in. But that doesn't mean this company doesn't have potential, and that also doesn't mean the industry isn't going to be big.
And I think that's fair, because there's probably a segment of the population that feels the same way about the sector. It's just the way it is. Just like some wouldn't invest in pot.
Well, but also, I mean, if you're buying shares and saying you're not into gambling, take a step back from that argument and look at it just for a second. Because really, anytime you buy a stock, you're taking a bet.
True. The stock market is just one big wager.
One massive wager with a lot less control over outcomes than you might have playing poker, to be completely honest. The people that set this deal up are not necessarily my favorites in terms of how they go about putting companies out in the market. I've always been somebody who is prepared to talk about the positives and the negatives of any company that I do business with. And I think that's why people actually pay attention to what we say. So, I'll lay that out that, there are guys that were in this initial deal that I don't particularly care for. That said, every company has a timeline over which it evolves, gets better, gets worse, and this company's got better over time. The 8-month trading hold gave it a little bit of cover to actually go and do some business. Now, unfortunately, when you have an extended trading hold, when you come back to trading, you die, because a lot of people wanted to get their money back. They've missed some opportunities in the meantime. They get pissed off. When they finally can sell, they sell without having too much of a look at whether they actually should. But I see that as being the opportunity a lot of the times. This company's already been through it. It's already come out the other side. They've shaken off a lot of the bullshit. And now it's an inexpensive way into this sector. And frankly, there are a lot of overly expensive ways into this sector that aren't this company. So I don't have any problem with sports betting. Quite frankly, if medical cocaine was a legalized sector, I'd probably invest in that. I buy military stocks, oil and gas stocks, all things that I wish would die in a fire, but I know they're not going to for the short term. So my best way of making sure that industries that displease me are done in a better way is to be a part of it and to actually have a voice in that business. So I think if we can show the people that put together deals that the bright future of bets isn't in a quick throw out to the market and some flashy news releases, but rather building a good company and a good sector with good people, I'll reward that every time. And I think this company has progressed enough to get that reward from me. The stock situation is ideal for jumping in if you're going to jump in. I like that the sector is every day potentially could just be one big news release from a local government away from blowing up. So I don't want to time my entrance because I don't want to miss out one of those situations. But I'd probably take a few $7,500 there. Simmer, I'd probably throw down 2,500 at these prices. And if it does go any lower, then I'd double that.
Nice. Michelle, what are you doing?
Yep, I like the range here, so I would be placing 2K here. I think this is one where you can approach it two ways. It is looking at, you're looking at good levels here. So I would say if you don't mind, maybe the stock might be ranging for quite some time without that catalyst. But as Chris mentioned, all it takes is one catalyst and the stock could be shooting off with what's this, like a 77% move like it did way back in February. So you might miss out on that. The other way, though, like just me being a guy who don't really like ranging markets, I'd rather wait for that breakout, is to wait for some sort of close above 20 cents and then enter around that time. So two ways to play it. 2K, either you're comfortable sitting on it at these levels and you don't mind the stock ranging for a bit, but then, obviously you might get that one catalyst that gets it going, or you wait for that uptrend to technically trigger with a close above 20 cents, and then you'd enter there with your 2K and ride the next uptrend higher.
All right, a little bit across the board. We're talking about BETS, i3 Interactive, Troy Grant. He's in Halley. They're all over the place. They're trying to womp and stomp their way through India, and we'll see what happens. Nothing the fellas said here is guaranteed. You have to educate yourselves, peoples. Go read, go check it out, get online, scan it, read it, investor deck, et cetera, et cetera. And previous performance does not guarantee future results, nor does what we're doing. Thanks for joining us, Rob, and Chris way over there, and Michelle up there, and Galen down. Grab the whiskey, and Galen down there.
I'm already drunk.
And we'll see you.
He ain't lying.
See you on the next Equity Guru Investor Roundtable.
All right.